Man, I'm tired. I'm Matt Faulkner, and this is Overtime. On this episode, let's talk about the life of a tire in NASCAR. The tires are born at the factory in Goodyear, and once they're made there, they are brought to the track to be mounted to their respective wheels wherever we're racing. Each team owns many, many wheels. We own hundreds of wheels, for example, and we're responsible to get our wheels to the track so that those wheels can be mounted with tires once they get there. Now, how many sets of tires or how many wheels we'll bring to the track depends largely upon the track. If it's a track like Daytona or Talladega where we don't have a lot of tire wear, we won't take as many sets as if we went to Darlington, for example, where we use many, many sets of tires. So once the tires and wheels are mounted at the track, they're put into piles where once the team members show up, we begin the process of sorting those tires into sets. Each team has a tire specialist who is largely responsible for taking the data off each tire. There's a label on each tire that has information like the date the tire was made, the mold the tire was made on, the location the tire was made, the spring rate of the tire, and other data that teams use to log and incorporate into their sorting. Once that data is taken, the tire specialist will purge all of the normal air out of the tire and refill it with nitrogen. Nitrogen's basically just a drier form of air that expands less from cold temperatures to hot temperatures so that we can set the tires closer to the optimal temperature or pressure we want them to run at. Once the pressures are all set to the same amount per tire, the tire specialist will measure the size of each tire. And if you've ever been to the track and you see the tire specialist wrapping a tape measure around the tire, that's what they're doing. They're measuring the size of each tire. The tires are all supposed to be the same size, at least the rights are the same size and the lefts are the same size. But there is a little discrepancy among each tire, and so that's why we take the data to incorporate that into our sorting. There's one other thing the tire specialist measures, and that's the depth. There's 5 dimples going across the tread of the tire where the tire specialist can measure the depth at each location, and with that data, he can measure that depth later on after the tire is used to figure out how much the tire has worn. One thing I want to mention with slick tires is even though there is no tread, like high spots and low points of the tread, there's still tread of the tire. There's a certain thickness of rubber that the tire is made of, and that thickness will get thinner as the tire wears. So therein is the importance of the 5 dimples going across the tire that the tire specialist measures. It's really the only way to check tread wear, because unlike a dirt tire or a rain tire that has tread, you can't really see how much a slick tire is wearing unless you measure the dimples. That's for you, Mom. Aww. The tire specialist will then take all of that data that's been logged and measured and get with the crew chief on how to sort those tires into sets. They'll either sort those tires into sets by size, by spring rate, by both, by the date it was made. They'll incorporate all these variables to come up with the best sets of tires they can have for practice and for the race. Sometimes they may purposefully have better sets to use at certain points of the race where they think that's especially critical. Other times they'll try to get the sets just as even as possible so there's no variable in tires throughout the race weekend.